America is a land built on centuries of conflict, tragedy, and untold stories. Beneath the surface of its bustling cities and quiet countryside lies a darker history, one that many believe has left behind echoes that refuse to fade. From crumbling asylums to blood-soaked battlefields, certain locations across the country carry an energy that sends chills down the spines of even the most skeptical visitors. These are not just ghost stories passed around campfires. These are places where history and the paranormal collide in ways that have been documented, investigated, and experienced by thousands of people over generations. The question is not whether you believe in ghosts. The question is whether you would dare to step inside these walls and find out for yourself. What makes a place truly haunted is rarely just one event. It is layers upon layers of suffering, violence, and unresolved tragedy that seem to seep into the very foundation of a building or a piece of land. The locations we are about to explore carry that weight in abundance. Each one has a story that goes far deeper than flickering lights or strange sounds in the night. These are places where the past refuses to stay buried, and where countless witnesses have reported experiences that defy rational explanation. Prepare yourself, because what follows is a journey through some of the most chilling and genuinely terrifying locations that the United States has to offer. Standing like a crumbling Gothic fortress in the heart of Philadelphia, Eastern State Penitentiary is widely regarded as one of the most haunted buildings in the entire country. When it opened in 1829, it was considered a revolutionary approach to criminal justice. Prisoners were kept in complete solitary confinement, isolated from all human contact in an attempt to encourage reflection and repentance. What it actually produced was widespread psychological breakdown. Inmates were hooded whenever they left their cells so they could not see or interact with other prisoners. The silence was absolute and suffocating. Decades of that kind of torment left a mark on the building that many believe is still felt today. Visitors and staff have reported shadowy figures darting through the cell blocks, cackling voices echoing through empty corridors, and ghostly faces peering from behind crumbling walls. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the apparition of a figure seen in cell block 12, believed by many paranormal investigators to be the spirit of a prisoner who never mentally recovered from the isolation. Al Capone himself was once held here, and even the notorious gangster reportedly begged to be moved from his cell, claiming he was being tormented by the ghost of a man he had ordered killed. Eastern State Penitentiary operated until 1971, and in its nearly 150 years of operation, it housed some of the most dangerous criminals in American history. The suffering that occurred within its walls was immense, and for those who walk its corridors today, that suffering seems to linger in every shadow and every whisper of cold air. Few places in America carry the weight of death quite like the fields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Over the course of 3 days, in July of 1863, more than 50,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or went missing in what became the bloodiest battle of the American Civil War. The sheer scale of human suffering that occurred on that ground is almost incomprehensible, and many believe that kind of mass tragedy leaves behind a spiritual residue that simply cannot be erased. Paranormal activity at Gettysburg has been reported for well over a century. Visitors have photographed misty figures standing among the monuments at dusk, heard the sounds of cannon fire, and screaming in the dead of night. and encountered soldiers in full uniform who vanished before their eyes. The triangular field, the wheat field, and Little Round Top are among the most active areas, where investigators have recorded unexplained voices and captured images that cannot be easily explained away. One of the most compelling recurring reports involves a group of soldiers seen marching near the tree line at dawn, only to disappear as the light grows stronger. Local historians and paranormal researchers alike have spent years documenting these experiences, and the consistency of the accounts across different witnesses and different time periods is striking. Gettysburg is not just a haunted location, it is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems genuinely thin, as though the soldiers who fell there are still fighting a battle that ended over 160 years ago. Perched high in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the Stanley Hotel has earned its reputation as one of the most famously haunted destinations in America. Built in 1909 by Freeland Oscar Stanley, the hotel was designed as a grand retreat for the wealthy elite. But it is the strange and persistent paranormal activity that has made it truly legendary. Stephen King stayed in room 217 during a particularly eerie off-season visit, and the experience inspired him to write The Shining, one of the most celebrated horror novels ever published. That alone tells you something about the atmosphere of this place. Guests staying in room 217 have reported their luggage being unpacked and neatly arranged by unseen hands, lights switching on and off without explanation, and the distinct feeling of a presence watching them from the corner of the room. The fourth floor is considered particularly active, with children's laughter frequently heard in the hallways late at night when no children are present. The ballroom has been the site of numerous reports of apparitions dancing to music that no one else can hear. The hotel itself leans into its haunted reputation, offering ghost tours and paranormal investigations for those brave enough to explore after dark. But beyond the theatrics, the experiences reported by ordinary guests who had no expectation of anything unusual are what make the Stanley Hotel genuinely unsettling. Something in that mountain air, in those elegant corridors, seems to carry the presence of those who came before. What draws people to these haunted locations is not simply the thrill of being frightened. It is something far more profound. These places force us to confront questions about what happens after death, about whether consciousness persists beyond the physical body, and about whether the emotions and traumas of the past can truly leave a permanent mark on the world around us. Every shadow in Eastern State Penitentiary, every whisper on the fields of Gettysburg, every unexplained footstep in the hallways of the Stanley Hotel asks us to consider the possibility that the line between the living and the dead is not as clear as we would like to believe. Whether you are a firm believer in the paranormal or someone who approaches these stories with healthy skepticism, the history embedded in these locations is undeniably powerful. The suffering was real. The events that took place within these walls and on these grounds were real. And for countless visitors who have walked away shaken and speechless, the experiences were absolutely real. America's most haunted places are more than tourist attractions. They are reminders that history leaves marks, that the past is never truly gone, and that some stories refuse to be silenced no matter how many years pass. The only way to truly understand what these places hold is to stand inside them yourself, in the quiet and the dark, and listen.